Right, so boys are back in the cage and currently fighting over who gets to stand on each other's head, because that's apparently important to boys. What I've got for this exercise, it's quite a simple thing to do. I've raided my spices cupboard and also my I quite like teas, and I sometimes mix my own with kind of spices for that, so I've raided that as well. And I've looked for anything that's kind of different smelling, so I've got for as many different flavours as I could. Something that it won't matter if the rats eat it kind of neat, so you would never put something like cayenne pepper in this. So stuff that's non-spicy, non-irritating like pepper and such. And what I'm basically going to do is make little packets for them, and then I'm going to hang them up in the cage, and I'm going to take great delight in watching which ones are most interesting for them, because these will be flavours that they've probably never smelt before. So all I've got for this is these are just bits of kitchen roll torn up. They were ones that the babies decided to have great fun on doing a kind of Andrex puppy moment and unravelling my kitchen towel, so they're all kind of very trampled and worse for wear. So I'm going to use them just to put little packets of spices in. Very, very simple idea. So first one I've got here is some chamomile flowers. These have got quite a nice strong smell. I very much like them for teas. And it's as simple as, in fact I might just do one long thing. So scooping it up into a little package. Let's move you a bit closer. Now the boys are not out. I'm zooming in a bit. There. So I've made it just into a little package, leaving a bit of spare string, because I'm going to do a few of these. And I'm using string rather than wire because I mean for them to chew this down. It's nothing fancy. Right, next one. That piece looks a bit small. Right, so I've got a bunch of fennel seeds. Now I personally quite like eating fennel seeds. I do sometimes add it to their mix, but it's got a lovely strong aniseedy flavour. I do like that. So I'm just going to put that again in another little bag. Tie that in a knot. Now I decided in my wisdom I was going to put these all on the same string, which makes things a little bit more complicated, but it'll mean that I can hang them up nice and easily all together. So I've got fennel seed. If I was really smart, I'd be writing on these what's in each of them, or putting some sort of symbol, just so that I can kind of like see which is most popular. Now I've just got to try and remember what order I did. Next one, I've got a bunch of lemongrass. Now, it doesn't smell hugely strongly of lemon for me, but I know rats really like the fresh herb, so I'm going to try the dry herb and see what they make of it. Mostly this is curiosity. I think I'm wondering if they will go for things that smell more strongly or not. Only way of knowing is by testing it, really. And I should say, this idea of putting little kind of sachets together was a lady who's got rats off me, or had rats off me in the past, or me and Lisa in the past, tried little sachets of it. I thought it was such a good idea. I thought I've got to try that with my lot. Right, to make this easier, I'm going to cut a bit of this off. Right, so we've done the lemongrass. What have we got next in my selection? Ooh. Jasmine flowers, another tea ingredient. These don't smell nearly as strong as chamomile. But I quite often add different flowers to their mix, and they usually quite like them. Adds a bit of kind of variety and colour, probably a little bit more for me than for them, but it doesn't harm the mix adding different flowers, so I'll try them with jasmine on this one. Right, next I found some 5 spice powder, so there's not loads of this. It's one of my favourite spices, very Chinesey. It's just got a nice kind of almost cakey flavour to it, which, considering it's a savoury, typically savoury spice, is quite interesting. So I thought I'd try it with them, because there's nothing in there that's going to cause them any problems, and it's quite a strong smell. Now apparently I'm failing to tie knots. Done. Right, next, what else did we put on there? Fold it out. I've got a bit of rosemary, so just dried rosemary, but you could equally use some fresh rosemary. Same goes for any herb, actually. This is just what I had handy that didn't involve standing outside in the rain, because it's a miserable day today. Also my first day back at work, so it's kind of like I don't want to be wasting time outside if I can be nice and warm. Right, there's the rosemary in. Right, what next have we got? I was trying to remember everything I put in there. Haha, cumin. So I picked this because it's quite a different flavour or smell to the 5-spice. But one of the things in the cupboard that I knew wouldn't cause any problems if you kind of ate a bit. It's not particularly tasty on its own, but it's also not a problem. And a good rule of thumb for a lot of these things is if it's something that's okay for us to eat in that state, generally it's okay for the rats to eat. And that can really help when you're kind of trying to pick things like this for interest. Right, I've only got a couple more things that I found. I think it's either marjoram or oregon, one of the two. Two lots of green spices. The other one seems to have got lost in the... Oh no, it's there. What's that? This is marjoram, the other one's oregano. So let's get that, I'll tie it up at this end. Get in there, only one left to go, and then we're good. Basically just have a look what's in your spice cupboard. Keep it to something that's kind of also not really unhealthy, so I wouldn't use salt or something like this. Use things that are going to kind of be decent for them in their own right. Right, and so that's my last one, which is oregano. And we have a nice long chain of things for the rats to shred. Like so. Not pretty, not beautiful, but when is anything I actually do for the rats pretty or beautiful in these kind of things. So I'm going to pop this across to the cage and we'll see what the girls make of them. So I thought I'd quickly come back to this and kind of give a bit of a voiceover. What's quite interesting is there are some that they've torn apart and like really started eating, like food, really like this one, which was the cumin. There's some that they've given like a slight nibble and tried and then left. And there's others that they haven't actually opened, but they've sniffed quite intently, like over here, which I think, I can't remember what it was actually. This was the danger of me putting them out there. But it's clearly something that smells interesting, but not like food. And some of them have basically involved the girls really tearing into them. But regardless, they've all been really interesting. To be fair, it took me closing the cage for them to actually decide they were more interested in the hanging stuff than they were interested in trying to escape. But that's my girls for you. But it is really quite nice to see how kind of like interactive and engaged they have been with all the different smells. Good one from balancing point of view there from Mog, showing off that you don't have to be a young lady to balance well. But yes, very interesting, and it's quite interesting just how popular the cumin's been, which now Chocobean is eating the paper from. Good thing about kitchen roll, it's not going to hurt them if they eat a bit. But yes, I definitely recommend trying something like this. They've had a lot of fun. I've had quite a lot of fun watching them. So I think that's probably it from me and the rats that have been doing all this sniffing. So see you tomorrow. Right, so we're all ready to try this with the girls. First challenge, getting it in without losing anybody. As you probably know from previous attempts, this is not always that easy. Right, what have I got here for you? Something new, many things new. Right, let's get this tied up. The chances are they'll start breaking into them before I finish. Right, I'm also in a knot already. Come on, let me put it out. So straight away they're actually straight in there with their noses and quite fascinated. I'll go over to there. As usual, I'll put it fairly out of reach because I want them to kind of have a bit of a go at working for things. There's a lot of interest in some of the things. Probably more so, like these are some of the flowers which have quite a strong smell. I think that's chamomile. I can see you, Chocobo. You have to be fast with her. Bless her, a lump doesn't slow her down any. So what I might do, sorry Mud, let's grab you. I'm going to shut this one, so I've only got one cage to get at. And I'm probably going to turn this on time lapse so we can see them in kind of slower time and what they're up to.